Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome all of you to the 7th Swachh Talk. Swachh Bharat Mission Urban 2.0, as one of its outreach initiatives, periodically organizes Swachh Talks with an objective to provide peer-to-peer learning platform to the cities, sector partners, and other related stakeholders on range of Swachhata related themes. Taking forward the journey of Swachhata, a campaign on Swachh Diwali, Shubh Diwali from 6th to 12th November 2023 has been rolled out yesterday as an initiative of SBM 2.0 by Ministry of Housing Urban Affairs. Yesterday, and the campaign aims at invoking the cultural significance of Diwali with the journey of Swachh Bharat by encouraging clean and eco-friendly celebrations. It also aims to address the health and safety aspect in the sanitation and waste management sector during the festive season. As a part of this campaign, SBM Urban 2.0 is organizing the 7th episode of Swachh Talks on the theme of health and wellness in sanitation and waste management sector. Now I invite Ms. Rupa Mishra, Joint Secretary and MD, SBM Urban, for her welcome address. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madhu. Namaskar. At the outset, I welcome the speaker for Swachh Talks today, Dr. Randeep Guleria, a household name, especially in times of COVID, the most sought after name for all of us in terms of looking up for advice as to what protocols to be followed. We also have with us again another very committed, I would say, representative of the civil society, Ms. Bharti Chaturvedi, who has been taking a lot of initiatives through her organization Chintan and has been adding great value to the work of Swachh Bharat. We also have here with us Padma Shri Indra Chakravarti, who will be joining for brief remarks, and city representatives from urban local bodies across the country. As all of you are aware, this phase of Swachh Bharat is about clean cities, and clean cities aiming at clean land, clean water, and clean air. The activities that cities do during Swachh Bharat mission aim at not only scientific management of waste, but also dump site remediation, large-scale public awareness for reduce, reuse, recycle, saying no to single-use plastic, effective management of construction and demolition waste, and also various other activities that will finally take us towards the vision of garbage-free India, which Honorable Prime Minister has mandated during the launch of Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0 on 1st October 2021. We have covered 9 years of Swachh Bharat journey and 2 years of SBM 2.0. Cities have taken various initiatives to manage waste and sanitation very effectively, be it about everyday morning waste collection, transportation of waste, taking various drives for zero waste events, initiatives to handle even the health and hygiene and well-being of Safai Mitras. 9 years of journey has given us various learnings and experiences. Taking this journey forward with the celebration time in the country right now with various festivals, the Swachh Bharat Mission has rolled out a very brief and simple campaign focused around Swachh celebrations. The campaign launched yesterday and will be going on till 12th of this month, is named and themed Swachh Diwali, Shubh Diwali. The purpose of this is only when there is Swachhata, there is wealth, there is Samriddhi. Hence, we thought of calling this campaign Swachh Diwali, Shubh Diwali, with focus on vocal for local, no to single-use plastic, clean green celebrations. Another important factor which has been built in the Swachh Diwali campaign is safety and well-being of Safai Mitras, sanitation workers. Friends, at this point of time, a burning topic around us is the issue of air pollution. And especially in the northern India, there is concern that this pollution might possibly increase after Diwali. Therefore, as the Swachh Bharat Mission fraternity, it is important for us to join hands to see that we reduce the activities that attribute to increased pollution with celebrations, and for that our cities are geared up to take various reduce, reuse, recycle and pollution control drives. Cities have already started doing various enforcement activities around construction areas and also regulating timings of sweeping, etc. However, it is also very important that while we do these campaign activities, we protect the people who matter the most. In any city or any part of India, in the morning, there will be few people who will be seen, whether it is summer or it is winter or it is rains. The newspaper wala, the doodh wala, and of course, the safai wala. So when we say Safai Wala, for us it is Safai Mitras because they are our eyes, ears, hands and the limbs of Swachh Bharat, and hence the most precious part and the important part of Swachh Bharat mission. Today, this Swachh Talks is basically going to focus around knowing the various dimensions that air pollution can impact, the way air pollution can impact the health and well-being of all those who are in the waste value chain or the sanitation value chain, with specific focus on those Safai Mitras who are engaged in sweeping and those who are engaged every day in the waste collection activities. Dr. Guleria, with his rich experience, is also going to give us inputs which will thereafter help the national mission to design and develop a standard operating protocol which all cities can thereafter follow as a mandatory measure to take care and protect the workers from various exposure that they have on a daily basis with dust, with odor and with waste. We also have Bharti ji, who will be sharing certain recommendations and observations from a very interesting study that has been taken up in and around Delhi with three important sectors, and those sector workers being waste pickers, security guards, and also Safai Mitras who are engaged in sweeping, because these are the three categories who on a daily basis get exposed to dust and to odor maximum. Therefore, with this, I welcome everyone to join the platform of Swachh Talks, which is a capacity building initiative again by Swachh Bharat Mission. And with this, I would now request Director to please call on the speakers for the day to take forward the proceedings. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I welcome and invite Ms. Bharti Chaturvedi, Founder and Director of Chintan Environmental Research and Action Group, to deliver her lecture or her address on unfair quality, the impact of air pollution on three occupants. Ms. Bharti.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm just sharing the screen. Thank you to Madam Rupa Mishra, and greetings to everyone here. And greetings also to Dr. Guleria. I assume I have about 10-12 minutes. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am, you have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to use this 10 minutes to really reflect on some ideas about that come out of our study that we also did with Randeep Guleria. Unfair, it was called. Madam Rupa Mishra has already described it very briefly. We looked at the impact of work and respiratory illness for these three groups, Safai Karamcharis, Safai Mitras, waste pickers and security guards. And these are people whose work is outdoors and they get exposed to this. I'm moving very fast because I want to focus on what we should do ahead. But आप यहाँ ये देख सकते हैं कि रिजल्ट्स में ये पता चला कि सफाई कर्मचारीज में बहुत ज़्यादा पुअर पल्मोनरी फंक्शन था. हमने एक्चुअली टेस्ट्स किए और डॉक्टर गुलेरिया की एडवाइस से कई सारी चीज़ें सीखी और जानी. और 27% बहुत सिवियर लंग इलनेस से पीड़ित थे और 97 सेल्फ रिपोर्टेड परसेंटेज में था कि हमको एयर पोल्यूशन से दिक्कत आती है. लेकिन कईयों को ये नहीं पता था कि पीपीई किट्स कैसे उनको बचा सकते हैं. सिक्योरिटी गार्ड्स में बहुत संक्षेप में ये बोलूंगी कि उनके भी इक्वली बैड पल्मोनरी फंक्शन टेस्ट थे. जैसे कि आपको पता है कई बार रात को देर रात को कूड़ा जलाया जाता है, छोटा मोटा कूड़ा जो पिक जाता है शाम के टाइम क्योंकि ठंड लगती है इनको. और आया तीसरा ग्रुप वेस्ट पिकर्स का. The third group is waste pickers. Pulmonary function test was poor for 75, but 17% were found to be suffering from severe lung illness. इस सब चीज में what we found was overall women were 6 times more likely to be unwell and female waste pickers were 3.9 times more likely to be unwell. मैं थोड़ा आगे बढ़ती हूँ कि इसके बारे में क्या कर सकते हैं. What can we do about this? हमने CPCB सेंट्रल पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड का ये AQI ये देखा है. आप देख सकते हैं 0 to 200 is acceptable category, good, satisfactory, moderate. तो अब हमने क्या किया है, we have made 2 sets here, 2 different sets of stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 is 201 to 300, which is poor, and 301 and above is our stage 2, which includes very poor and severe. Now, why we've done this is there are 131 non-attainment cities identified by the new areas of finding like Mumbai that air pollution बढ़ गया है. There's a big increase. So we have to literally protect the health of those people who are keeping our cities clean. And this presentation is largely going to be around proposed SOPs. It's largely going to be around what we can do with Safai Mitras, and it's largely going to be very practical ideas. So we have divided everything into occupational health and safety, exposure reduction, and pollution abatement. And one of the things that we say is that you all know what your trends are. So it is not difficult to prepare for this. This year, we are already in many parts of India already reeling from high AQI levels. And there are some things we can start right again. One of the things that is widely discussed in our report, and possibly Dr. Guleria might also recommend it, is that even before every year there should be a pulmonary health checkup, and it should also look at eyes, so that we are able to have a baseline. Because people who deteriorate because of work, because of daily sweeping, we have to prevent that from happening, and we have to save our own Safai Mitras. Let me just go through this very briefly. When we look at the safety gear, the first stage in stage 1, which is 200 to 3, we say that you provide the safety gear once a month till the AQI lowers, because masks also become unusable. I especially want to emphasize industrial level standard protective eye gear. It's about 50 rupees and it lasts for the whole year. And it's very, very important because a lot of the pollution also comes to the eyes. And not only does it cause irritation, but it can also lead to cataract and other ailments. But we have to do training on how to use it. That is important. Secondly, about facilities, you have to give those facilities to what and to wash hands, because often when particulate matter on a very bad day is stuck to your face or your cap, it might go down into your mouth and lungs and so on. Even public washrooms can actually have usage instructions and inform the public. There's no extra cost. Again, exposure reduction. Here we focus on gender कि women जो होती हैं, pregnant and lactating women, and I would even say कि women in the childbearing age, which is generally a standard 40, should not have to be given Safai Mitras as well as their supervisors, ASIs and so on, should not really be standing at major transport corridors, arterial roads, pollution hotspots, industrial areas. And in fact, they might even want to look at work in, say, near schools, universities, smaller markets, residential areas, so that their children who they are nursing do not actually take in the pollution. And even work near major construction sites should be avoided. The second thing is that all the women and many of these smaller decentralized facilities are run by women, and I know that we have NDMC here that's done pioneering work on this, such as small dry waste collection centers, micro MRFs, composting facilities. So it's important to at least be able to spray water, which is not the same as throwing a large amount of water. It's about spraying water for at least 5 minutes, 5 meters distance. And some people have actually been able to spray it upwards so that the pollution hanging in the air at a level of 6 feet, which is the kind of height that people are at, they don't have to breathe it in. It can be washed down to some degree. It's not perfect. Again, in stage 1, there's pollution abatement. And one of the key things around construction is it's very hard to do all this by the pollution board, because there's just too much load in this season. So we have to anchor some of these things amongst the public. So you have to ask youth and so on to push for peer pressure to stop open burning. And in fact, even our own Safai Karamcharis, as Rupa Mishra madam just said, are our ears and our eyes. And they should be able to use that app or somehow report the burning, which should be escalated. But there should also be instructions to third parties to cover the Malbar and cover CND waste and cover construction sites. Right now, when construction has been stopped in many cities, it is lying open or covered with net. That doesn't help because the wind will still blow particulate matter, including PM10, into local areas. And of course, we know that responsible agencies should make sure that security guards have electric appliances and other appliances and caps not to burn waste. Now I'll just come to, I have another 4 minutes. So I'll come to stage 2, which is above AQI 300. Normally, in many parts of the world, they actually completely shut down everything when they had wildfires, etc. But we have to carry on, and we have to be practical about what can be done in our country. I don't have to even talk about the fact that there should be no sports or anything, much less outdoor meetings. But some of the things we found in our report unfair, when we did the recommendations, we reached out to several ULB commissioners. We reached out to officers working in environment departments on air pollution. We also reached out to NDMC. We wanted also a kind of a wealthy and small ULB also, and many of these are from them. So one of them is that where it's possible, we should pre-prepare clean air pollution, clean air mobile vans, so that for every 2 hours, in many parts of our country, on a couple of weeks, we end up, just because of the cold and other factors, end up with 400, 500. So for every 2 hours, the recommendation is to sit in these vans where the air might be cleaner, under 100. And it could be equal of the work time, but not less than 1 hour. The other recommendation is that our Safai Mitras should be able to pick visible waste, but not sweep, so that they don't get exposed to the particulate matter. And the third thing that they say is that anyone who reports illnesses or symptoms should actually be taken seriously, put on rest, and advise minimal movement. And all of these are in addition to what we've already discussed for stage 1. Again, let's look at occupational health measures. What we really say is that when it's stage 2, you may want to reissue the masks once a fortnight, because masks also lose their efficacy with time. Again, we also say please give instructions to other responsible stakeholders, and do consider giving similar gear to identified waste pickers. Under Swachh Bharat Sarvekshan, waste pickers have been identified by all ULBs. सबने waste pickers identify कर लिए हैं, तो at least उन लोगों को एक kit मिल सकता है, ट्रेनिंग हो सकती है. फिर exposure reduction in AQI stage 2 above 300. Manual sweeping between 11 and 5 is best avoided. अब ये बहुत मुश्किल की बात है, लेकिन it has to be supplemented with a lot of public awareness कि हम जान बचाने, health बचाने के लिए help कर रहे हैं. It's not that we are inefficient. And in fact, सफाई कर्मचारीज should be given 2 days of rest after every 1 day because of the sheer exposure. क्योंकि जितना भी मास्क पहन लेंगे, they will still take in some or the other amount of particulate matter. And supervisors, हम कई बार ASIs को भूल जाते हैं. They also deserve at least some rest after every 2 days of this. And usually peak pollution may last a week, 2 weeks, maybe little more. So ULBs can adjust this and plan accordingly. Again, हम ये भी बोलते हैं कि सफाई कर्मचारीज, women का तो बोल दिया, they should not be posted here. But even सफाई कर्मचारीज, when the AQI is above 300, should be rotated from these extremely polluted areas. And of course, manual cleaning should be minimized. Finally, I'm going to end because I know my time is almost over. I have 30 seconds or so left. But in all of these, we continue stage 1. But it's very, very important that when we do tests, and we can actually do tests in March, April of pulmonary health functions, pulmonary function tests. There's Randeep Guleria, the best person to advise us. Those who have really poor lung function, lung tests and lung health should not be given stage 2 duty on the field. It is expensive. I know ULBs have limited budgets, so it's a difficult one, but it should be considered. And you could hire other people based on the data for the last 2 years, so you know कि किस महीने से किस हफ्ते तक more or less ये stage 2 चलेगा. So with that, some systemic shifts, but they are all in alignment with the Swachh Bharat mission already. So I don't really have to say it, whether it's bioremediation or drones or healthcare or in situ horticulture waste management systems, whether composting, particularly decentralized. So I'll end here. I hope I finished on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. After Ms. Bharti's speech, now I invite and welcome Padma Shri Dr. Randeep Guleria ji, who is an expert in this field. Let me introduce him first for those who might not be knowing. He is chairman of the Institute of Internal Medicine and Respiratory and Sleep Medicine and Director Medical Education at Medanta. Prior to this, he was leading All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIIMS, New Delhi as director. He is the former professor and head of pulmonary medicine and sleep disorders at AIIMS, New Delhi. He was the recipient of the prestigious Padma Shri in 2015 by President of India in the field of medicine. And he is also awarded with Dr. B.C. Roy Award in the category of Eminent Medical Persons, and several other awards and honors are to his credit. He is also an advisor and consultant to various international and national bodies, including WHO Geneva and IAEA Vienna. Dr. Randeep Guleria ji, please address the audience. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Rupa Mishra and Ms. Kritika for inviting me. I'll just share my slides and I'll try and give you an overview of what we're talking of, that is air pollution. And I hope my slides are visible.
Not yet, sir. Now visible, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And I shall be talking on air pollution and why it's important for us, and then what we can do as far as mitigation measures are concerned. So what is air pollution? Let's first start with the basics. Air pollution basically is introduction of chemical, particulate matter or biological materials which causes harm or discomfort to humans and other living organisms or damages the natural environment into the atmosphere. So we have water pollution, we have now e-waste, but we're talking of pollution as far as the air is concerned. And it's important to understand that although we talk of human health, there is a whole concern of what is known as One Health concept, where we also look at pollution causing effect on plants, on animals, and thereby indirectly causing an effect as far as humans are concerned. So any visible or invisible particle or gas found in the air that is not part of the original or normal composition becomes a pollutant, and that is what air pollution is all about. Now the first question comes, where does this pollution come from? And there are various sources that we need to keep in mind. It could be pollution blown from outside the region. We see that in the Indo-Gangetic belt when we have crop burning occurring in Punjab, Haryana and northern states. Because of the wind which blows from the western side towards the eastern side, there can be pollution which can gradually move into the Indo-Gangetic, and the pollutants actually come here and then stay here because wind velocity is very low. We can also have pollution from cars and trucks. It can also occur from residential sources, from industry, and also when there is construction and debris, and that can also lead to air pollution. The common pollutants that one is concerned about are basically carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, lead, ground level ozone. There is also ozone at a high level which is protective, but ground level ozone and what we call particulate matter. Particulate matter का मतलब जो बहुत छोटा particles हैं, and I'll just come to that in a minute. So if you look at what do we mean by particle matter, here what we're trying to show is a human hair, and if you look at the cross section of a human hair and you look at PM 2.5, it is even much smaller than a human hair. This is what PM 10 is like, and this is what PM 2.5 is like. So we're talking of very thin particulate matter which can go into our lungs and actually enter our body. And that is something that we need to be concerned about. So if you look at particulate matter, it is classified according to the aerodynamic diameter, and it can harm us because of its size and structure, chemical composition, and these particulate matter have toxic material जो हमारे lungs में और blood circulation में पहुंच जाते हैं. So अगर PM 10 है, that is it is 10 microns in size, usually it is restricted to the upper airways. But if it is between 10 and 2.5, this is known as coarse particle, and this actually stays in the trachea and the large airways. But PM 2.5, that is particulate matter less than 2.5 microns, enters into our lower airways. And then we have what we call ultrafine particulate matter, that is particulate matter of 0.1 micron or less. This actually goes down into our small airways and then can enter into the bloodstream and therefore cause systemic effects of air pollution. So remember, air pollution can cause effects to various parts of the body, although it starts with the lung. These particle matters sometimes in these some toxic elements, and this is something which rag pickers are exposed to, that this is actually something that they get exposed to because it includes arsenic, cadmium, lead, sulfuric acid, and polycyclic aromatic carbons. So this is another important thing to keep in mind. We have human sources, and from industries, this is dust, smoke, sulfur dioxide, which is emitted into the air. We have motor vehicles, which produce carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides. We have construction work, which produces dust and smoke particles. And then we have what is known as fog and smog. Fog is something which is normal. It is also known as dhund or kohra, which is dampness that comes from clouds that create a white mist and reduce visibility, which we see during winter months in many parts of northern India. But if this gets combined with smoke, it becomes smog. Smog is a high concentration of nitrous oxide near the ground. This is a man-made source combining with a natural source of fog, and this can stay at ground level for a very long period of time and can be harmful. So this is how smog looks as far as Delhi is concerned. These are pictures from Delhi during the winter months. The upper one is from India Gate. You can hardly see India Gate. And the other is from Vijay Chowk. Again, you can hardly see the residence of the President of India because of the heavy smog that is there. So this is smog in Delhi, but this is some pictures which would be seen in various parts of the northern part of our country. Similarly, this is how India Gate looks at before Diwali. And if you were to look at India Gate after Diwali, this is how it looks at. So what we're trying to say is that this is the type of the year when we start having very high levels of air pollution. It affects the entire population, especially those workers who are working outside and are getting exposed to ground level pollution much more because they have to work and stay in the outdoor environment. What can it do? We all know that it can affect extremes of age. It can affect children. It has also been shown that it has an adverse effect on pregnant women, and it can affect the lungs, leading to breathing difficulty, bronchitis. Now there is data which suggests that air pollution is becoming a more common cause of COPD or bronchitis than even cigarette smoking. It is also data which suggests that lung cancer is also becoming linked to long-term exposure to air pollution. And then we have effect on the brain. It can lead to strokes. It can lead to dementia. In the heart, it is predisposes to heart attacks. And various societies, including the European Heart Society, says that living in an area with high pollution is as much a risk of heart attack as is high cholesterol or cigarette smoking. It can affect the newborn baby, and therefore pregnant women are more vulnerable, but it can also affect children, leading to heart problems, leading to lung problems, and therefore air pollution is actually a silent killer, causing chronic diseases and also decreasing the overall lifespan of an individual. So this is just to give you an idea that it affects all organs. It can affect the brain, and data now suggests it can cause stroke and dementia. It can affect eyes because of irritation, can cause conjunctivitis, dry eye disease, and cataracts. It can affect the heart, leading to heart disease, hypertension, heart failure, the lungs, leading to bronchitis, asthma, and breathing difficulty. It can also affect the liver, the blood, and fat metabolism, leading to obesity. And now there is more strong data which suggests that it can also predispose to both type 1 and type 2 diabetes. It can lead to abdominal complaints and even predispose to bladder cancer and prostatic hyperplasia. A study from AIIMS also showed a high incidence of rheumatic diseases, that is joint-related diseases, in people living in areas of high levels of air pollution. And therefore, it can lead to almost every organ system of the body has been linked to air pollution. And therefore, when we talk of air pollution, it's important for us to understand that those people who are being exposed to high levels of air pollution are actually breathing air which is very, very toxic. And therefore, if you look at this pyramid and look at the population, most of the population in millions, air pollution decreases your lung function, causes inflammation, and has effect on your heart. In some, it will lead to respiratory symptoms, leading to emergency visits, school absences, loss of work, and then it can lead to death also in a few people because of what we call a silent killer. And it was estimated by the Global Burden of Disease data published in 2018 that in India in 2017, almost 1.21 million people died because of air pollution. And that is a huge number that we need to keep in mind. This has already been shown by Bharti that when we look at the AQI, the Indian data is basically constructed by IIT Kanpur. The National Air Quality Index has been made by them. It's a formula where, depending on what it is, this is AQI has now, the recommendations by the WHO has actually brought it even further down. The 2021 recommendations by WHO now says that PM 2.5 level should be even much lower, because there is data which suggests that these are higher, but these are Indian data, which actually goes from good to very severe if the AQI is more than 400. What does it mean? So we have good, satisfactory, moderate, poor if it is more than 200, very poor, and severe. If your air quality is more than 200, that is in the poor range, then then it causes breathing discomfort to people on prolonged exposure and discomfort to people with heart disease with short exposure. If it goes to the very poor range, then it can lead to respiratory illness. It may affect even people who have lung and heart disease. And when it's in the severe range, as it is nowadays in various parts of the country, it can affect even healthy people and cause serious health impact on people with lung and heart disease. So we must actually try and at least keep our AQI in below the poor range, I would say moderate to satisfactory. Does this happen? And I'll just show you some data from Delhi. This is data of has been there from the Pollution Control Board, looking at throughout the year. So not only winter months. And this is from 2018 to 2022. And if you look at data, you will find that most of our days in Delhi have been either in the poor or very poor or severe range. Except for 2020, when there was a lockdown, did we have days which were they were days which were relatively better in terms of satisfactory. But if you look at data from 2022, you will find that 63% of the days were actually in the poor range and 12% was in the very poor range. So we are continuing to breathe bad quality air throughout the year, and that is something that we need to keep in mind. What can we do? How can we mitigate the effects? And I'll just come to that in the last part of my talk. Now, a lot of things have been done by the government, and these are activities way back from 1981 when the Act came into place as far as air control was concerned. Then we had the National Air Quality Monitoring Program. And then subsequently, Motor Vehicle Act came in. In 1988, the Supreme Court verdict on CNG, which was adopted in Delhi. And this actually really brought down air pollution for some time in the early 2000s. But then again, because of increased vehicular traffic, AQI became bad. And various programs have been initiated. We have now the Graded Response Action Plan in Delhi NCR, and a lot of activities have been done to really try and mitigate the effect of air pollution. What can we do? I think we must make sure that there is smoking cessation. We must decrease biomass fuel and outside burning of wood in winter months. We must discourage that. Try and see how much we can decrease outdoor pollution by decreasing our carbon footprint. And I think it's very important to educate everyone as to what they can do to decrease air pollution. And of course, a healthy lifestyle is very, very important. Why do we see this air pollution in this part of India every year? And I think there are two things to keep in mind: the natural phenomena and human activities. This part of India is a landlocked area. So we are in a geographic location which is landlocked. The temperature here becomes low during autumn and winter, and the wind speed drops very much. So it's almost as if there's no wind. And then when we have various agriculture activities which happen in the northern part, the smoke comes to this area, and because of low temperatures stays in this landlocked area, unlike what you would see if we were close to, let's say, the seaside. Also, human activities have further aggravated that in the form of road and soil dust, construction, biomass and municipal solid waste, vehicular pollution, industries, brick kilns, and diesel generator sets. So the combination of the natural phenomena and increase in human activities have led to this whole smog that we see on a satellite picture in the Indo-Gangetic belt. If you even look at today's or yesterday's picture, which is available on Google, if you look at the NASA picture, you will find that there's a huge cloud which is just below the sub-Himalayan area, which is basically the Indo-Gangetic belt, which is showing high levels of air pollution. What can corporations do? One is looking at biomass and municipal solid waste and land waste, that we should try and see whether we can convert waste to energy plants, waste to composite plants, no fires in garbage and sanitary landfills. We should look at road and soil dust management by various methods which are done during this time of the year in terms of no open sweeping, water sprinkling, only mechanical sweeping, and trying to have greening or green paving of the central verges and roadside berms to prevent the pollution from rising up. Then, of course, there has to be check in illegal construction and encroachment. That is very, very important. Along with that, smooth transit of vehicles to reduce vehicular pollution so that does not happen. These are also important steps that can be taken. And then, of course, one should see that the construction and demolition activities are also actively done properly so that the dust control is there. Greening or green paving is another way to control pollution, which can be done by various corporations. And then there are other health protection that can be done. There's need to strengthen healthcare services. This was also mentioned by Bharti, that we need to spread awareness among the community, reschedule outdoor activities if AQI levels are high, seek medical advice if you have any symptoms which suggest that you are having side effects because of exposure to poor quality air, and motivation to use of public transport and non-polluting modes. And the standard protocols must be prepared for illness due to air pollution so that these individuals are managed early rather than having acute or long-term effects of air pollution. And available essential drugs and equipment should be there so that they can be managed in a timely manner. There's also a need to strengthen the healthcare services. As was again mentioned, we should have regular health checkups for municipal workers, vulnerable groups like sanitation workers, construction workers, and hawkers, so that we can pick up those whose lungs are weak early rather than then going into respiratory failure, requiring oxygen, and having chronic long-term problems. So there should be record keeping, trend analysis of illness against AQI levels, capacity building of healthcare personnel, and it's important to conduct facility health surveys and properly equip our services so that we are able to handle this. This has already been discussed by Bharti, but I'll just touch upon this. This is to look at what can be done, and the data from the unfair quality study which Chintan had done showed that air pollution disproportionately impacts the health of essential outdoor workers, basically Safai Karamcharis, waste pickers, security guards, street vendors, and traffic police. There is a lot of data which we had also compiled as far as traffic police are concerned, and their lung functions are quite bad. So what was proposed, and this is what Bharti had just discussed, so I won't go into it in great detail, that you need to look at AQI. If it is below 200, you may not do anything, but if it is between 200 and 300, which is the poor range, then stage 1 action kicks in. If it is more than 300, then stage 2 action kicks in. And again, we look at different forms of action. One is occupational health and safety measures, the other is exposure reduction, and the third is pollution abatement. So in stage 1, the activity would be to provide safety gear to all the people who are exposed, if looking at N95 masks, caps, industrial standard protection eye gear, and proper training so that they can be used properly. And then facilities, all reporting stations or equivalent space must have face and hand washing facilities. And this should be also, public awareness as far as this is concerned. Exposure reduction, especially among those who are at high risk, pregnant and lactating women, should be the work should be shifted from major transport corridors where pollution levels is high to areas where pollution levels is likely to be less. And work near major construction sites should be avoided for these women, and instruct all waste segregation, composite and disposal facilities to spray water for minimum for 5-meter radial distance. This should be something which could help as far as stage 1 was concerned. And various actions could be taken as far as pollution abatement is concerned, especially increasing awareness among the public so that there is no open burning, and you should have a lot of activities in the neighborhood to encourage or decrease outdoor burning, especially during the winter months, and all other activities should be taken so that pollution abatement can be done. In stage 2, where you are having an AQI more than 300, then besides what was done in stage 1, you should also look at providing clean air mobile vans with air purifying systems for Safai Karamcharis to rest. And instead of manual sweeping, you should look at other ways that Safai Karamcharis to be equipped to pick visible waste such as gas, plastic bags, etc. And one should also monitor them closely if they have any illnesses which could be related to poor quality air. So safety gear should be given, N95 masks every 15 days. You should have facilities available, and urban local bodies should also look at providing these facilities to other outdoor working groups, which could include waste pickers. We've already talked about this, and Bharti had discussed this, that you could look at immediate stop of manual sweeping and manual waste collection before 11 a.m. and after 5 p.m. because this is the time when the air quality is worse because of ground level pollution being high. Once the sun comes out and it becomes a little warm, ground level pollution actually tends to rise up, and therefore pollution becomes less during that point of time. And then the various things that are required can be done as far as pollution abatement is concerned. This has also been discussed by Bharti in great detail. So I think these are the measures that we can do, but I would really stress here to say that air pollution is a silent killer. Many people are constantly exposed to air pollution, leading to poor health. They don't realize that the lung problem that they're having, the heart problem that they're having, or the other systemic problem that they're having is being contributed to long-term exposure to air pollution. And sometimes when the levels are very high, it causes severe problem leading to increased admissions in hospital. The data that we had collected over the last 2 years suggested that whenever air quality index becomes very poor, there is an increase in hospital emergency visits by children and adults in the next 4 to 6 days. So there is definitely solid data which supports that poor quality air leads to bad health, and it can actually be a cause of mortality. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Dr. Randeep Guleria ji. Now for the interaction, I invite another Padma Shri, Dr. Indra Chakravarti, public health specialist, scholar, and environmentalist, to raise her query or to make any observation that she wishes to make. Dr. Indra Chakravarti. We may go to then Miss Varsha Porisha from Cure. She's there. Kindly unmute yourself, Dr. Indra Chakravarti ji.
Okay. Hello.
Ji.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. I think I'm going to talk on something quite different from the air pollution, but which I think is one of the most critical issues of public health. We know that certain indicators of public health hasn't improved as expected. And I think one of the main reasons for that, we always say, is WASH, the water, sanitation, and hygiene. And I think hygiene is the first step of preventive healthcare. When we look into all these, I think the recent motto for the World Nutrition Food Day was basically water is life and water is food. So I think it's very critical that we link WASH to food and when we link WASH to health. These are some of the issues that we have been talking for many years. And I think for the urban areas, one of the most critical issues that we now face is a pollution that happens from some of the very urbanized sectors like the street foods. So that is the area I've been working for a long time. And this is where I think the garbage management, the solid liquid waste management is the most important thing when you think of any garbage management of any urban area, the street food sector. They produce some of the largest amount of garbage in the city because a huge number of people depend on street foods. And we did a massive study last year covering 108 zones of Kolkata, and where we looked into using a BIS standard, what was the most critical factor which impacted on the safety of street foods. And what we found that among all the indicators that we studied, 42 indicators, the number one was garbage management. So unless you do garbage management, food safety becomes a very, very critical issue. So even when you think of WASH, even when you think that hygiene is the first step of preventive healthcare, I think the priority should always be given to garbage management because we don't realize that garbage handling is one of the most critical things that impacts on hygiene of a population, and especially of urban areas. And I strongly believe that street food is a sector which actually generates so much of garbage, both solid and liquid. So unless this sector is given proper care, the pollution will not decrease, the food safety will further deteriorate, and the overall public health issues will further enhance as days go by. Because the number of vendors are going to increase, because number of urbanites are going to increase, and therefore, eventually, the load of garbage is also going to increase. So this is a very short comment after some excellent talks on air pollution. I think this is something, a very important issue which impacts not only on nutrition, but on the overall public health of urbanites. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Indra Chakravarti. हमारे साथ म्युनिसिपल कॉरपोरेशन चंडीगढ़ से भी साथी जुड़े हैं. आप अपना प्रश्न उठाना चाहते हैं, कोई अपनी ऑब्जर्वेशन देना चाहते हैं, आप अपने को अनम्यूट करें. Municipal Corporation, Chandigarh.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Manish Bhandari this side, team leader of Swachh Bharat Mission PMU. So we have our Safai Mitras here. Mr. Manoj would like to ask something, sir. Please.
जी आपका प्रश्न पूछिए।
जी मेरा नाम मनोज कुमार है और मैं म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन सीवर डिपार्टमेंट में सीवर मैन की पोस्ट पे काम करता हूँ। मैं भी जानना चाहता हूँ जिस तरह से हमारा काम बहुत ज्यादा खतरे का है, तो इसमें छोटी छोटी बीमारियां तो चलो चलती रहती हैं, और आने वाले भविष्य में बहुत ज्यादा कोई बड़ा हादसा ना हो हमारे साथ, उसके बारे में हम चाहते हैं कि किस तरह के हमें टेस्टिंग करवानी चाहिए ताकि हम अपना बचाव कर सकें।
जी, जो आपने प्रश्न पूछा है उस प्रश्न का जवाब डॉक्टर गुलेरिया ने अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में दिया है कि आपको स्टेज 1 में अगर कुछ तकलीफ है तो आपको कैसे करना चाहिए, स्टेज 2 में है तो क्या करना चाहिए। जो प्रेजेंटेशन अभी डॉक्टर गुलेरिया ने दिया था वो हम आपके साथ शेयर भी करेंगे। फिर भी क्योंकि आपने प्रश्न पूछा है, मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी डॉक्टर गुलेरिया से, अगर इनको आप अपना कुछ उत्तर में कहना चाहते हैं तो। डॉक्टर गुलेरिया।
जी, मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा कि आपका सवाल यही है कि आप कैसे अपने आप को बचा के रखें कि आपको कोई सीरियस बीमारी ना हो। छोटी मोटी बीमारियां तो चलती रहती हैं। तो जैसे हमने कहा कि इसके दो वेज हैं। एक तो ये कि पोल्यूशन के टाइम में हम उससे पहले अपना चेकअप करा के देखें कि हमें कोई सांस की तकलीफ तो नहीं है, हमारे हार्ट में कोई कमजोरी तो नहीं है, ब्लड प्रेशर तो नहीं है। दूसरा ये कि एक रूटीन चेकअप करा लेना चाहिए जो हमारे बेसिक हेल्थ केयर वर्कर का होना चाहिए कि शुगर की बीमारी तो नहीं है, ब्लड प्रेशर तो नहीं है। आजकल इवन गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया में जो वेलनेस क्लिनिक्स हैं उसमें हम स्क्रीनिंग करते हैं कि शुगर तो नहीं है, हाइपरटेंशन तो नहीं है, या और कोई ऐसी तकलीफ तो नहीं है। कैंसर स्क्रीनिंग भी की जाती है और एडवाइस दिया जाता है कि हम कैसे अपना हेल्दी लाइफस्टाइल जी पाएं जिससे ये बीमारियां हमें ना हो, चाहे वो धूम्रपान हो, तम्बाकू का यूज हो या और एक्टिविटीज हो। तो आपको अपने लेवल पे और अपनी संस्थान के लेवल पे कुछ बेसलाइन टेस्ट जो हैं सब लोगों को जैसे उनकी उम्र बढ़ती है कराने चाहिए कि ये क्रॉनिक बीमारियां तो नहीं है, और कुछ बेसलाइन टेस्ट जो अपना किडनी फंक्शन टेस्ट, लिवर फंक्शन टेस्ट, ब्लड टेस्ट वो करा सकते हैं। लेकिन पोल्यूशन के टाइम में कुछ ऐसे स्पेसिफिक टेस्ट होते हैं जो हम देखते हैं, जो हमने प्रेजेंटेशन में भी दिखाया कि जो कर सकते हैं जिससे आपके पोल्यूशन से एक्सपोजर के कारण कोई हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम ना हो।
थैंक यू सर।
डॉक्टर साहब एंड एमसी चंडीगढ़ का भी हम धन्यवाद देते हैं। इसी कड़ी में हमारे साथ स्व सहायता समूह से भी कोची केरला से जुड़ रही हैं रेम्या एम फ्रॉम कोची केरला। प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ एंड आस्क योर क्वेश्चन प्लीज। थैंक यू।
നമസ്കാരം, ഞാൻ കേരളത്തിൽ നിന്ന് രമ്യയാണ്. ഞാൻ സംസാരിക്കുന്നത് കേരളത്തിന്റെ മാലാഖമാർ എന്നറിയപ്പെടുന്ന ഹരിതകർമ്മ സേന അംഗങ്ങളുടെ ആരോഗ്യ പ്രശ്നങ്ങളെ കുറിച്ച് കുറച്ച് കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്ന് ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ്. ഒരു ചെറിയ സർവേ നടത്തിയതിലൂടെ അവർക്ക് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ നേരിടുന്ന പ്രശ്നം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് സ്കിൻ അലർജികളും അതുപോലെ കണ്ണിന് ചൊറിച്ചിൽ വരുമ്പോൾ ടെസ്റ്റിന് ചെല്ലുമ്പോൾ കണ്ണിൽ ചെറിയ ചെറിയ പ്ലാസ്റ്റിക് തരികൾ കാണുന്നതുമാണ് അവർ നേരിടുന്ന ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ വലിയൊരു പ്രശ്നം. അതിനായിട്ട് സാറിന് എന്താണ് പറയാനായിട്ട്? പിന്നെ അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ശ്വാസകോശ സംബന്ധമായിട്ടുള്ള അസുഖങ്ങളും അവർ നേരിടുന്നു. അത് ഈ പൊടി ശ്വസിക്കുന്നതിലൂടെ മാസ്ക് ഒക്കെ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട് എങ്കിൽ പോലും അവർക്ക് ശ്വാസകോശ സംബന്ധമായിട്ടുള്ള അസുഖങ്ങളും നേരിടുന്നതായിട്ടാണ് ഒരു ചെറിയ സർവേയിലൂടെ മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ സാധിച്ചത്. അപ്പോൾ അതിലേക്കായി സാറിന് എന്താണ് പറയാനുള്ളത്? താങ്ക് യു.
Good afternoon, the panelists. Yes, I'm Gokul, the IEC expert speaking from Kerala, assisting my friend and colleague Ramya MD, a Harithakarma Sena member from Cochin. She says that the people dealing waste are largely vulnerable to severe dermatological issues. In addition to this, recently when a few elderly Harithakarma Sena members were treated for cataract, the ophthalmologist found microplastic granules from their eyes. So this is an alarming stage, and what she's asking for is the precautionary measures to put an end to this hazard.
Thank you, Dr. Guleria. डॉक्टर साहब इन्होंने प्रश्न किया है कि जी
So I think the issue raised is important, and Bharti will remember many years ago, almost maybe 15 years ago, we did a study where we looked at rag pickers and found that they have a lot of problems which are not only related to the microplastic, which is something new, but even needle stick injuries, which was causing hepatitis, and a lot of other skin problems which was happening. So there is a need to educate rag pickers and these people who are working in how they should handle waste and how they should protect themselves, whether it be wearing a PPE, whether it be wearing gloves, plastic gloves, and whether they should wear a proper mask and eye protection. Microplastic is something which is becoming more and more important, not only for rag pickers, but in various other industries, because it gets into the food chain very quickly. So I think it's an important question, and I think it's important for SOPs to be made for all sections as to what they can do when they come in contact with waste, which is likely to have both biological materials, because some of these can transmit infection because of needle stick injury, but also other material which can cause contact dermatitis, skin problem, and also get into the body.
And may I add karna chahungi, I would like to add that this query only throws light on the fact for even more efficient source segregation. We've come a very long way. Some years ago, we could have never imagined this level of segregation, but it has to be even more efficient. And that is something we have to now find new ways of social and behavior change.
Thank you, Dr. Guleria, Varsha ji, Gokul ji and Ramya. अब क्योर से मिस वर्षा पोरिशा हमारे साथ जुड़ी हैं. वर्षा जी अपना प्रश्न पूछिए.
Namaskar, and really thankful, grateful to both Bharti and Indira ji and Dr. Guleria for the insightful comments. So मेरा सिर्फ एक छोटा सा प्रश्न है, क्योंकि थोड़ा बहुत जो हमने काम किया सफाई मित्र, the organization that I come from is Center for Urban and Regional Excellence. So one of the issues that comes up very, very starkly is the access to healthcare services. Now, if I was to listen to the SOP that was shared by Bharti and overlay it with Dr. Guleria's suggestions, so I was just wondering what kind, if both of you or either of you could just share कि organizationally अगर हम city level पे जाएं, तो what kind of setups are needed to make this access to healthcare and to health services more efficient for the Safai Mitras. Thank you so much.
Dr. Guleria.
Dr. Guleria.
So I think there are two parts in this. One is health, preventive health, where I think there is an important role of providing some degree of health checkup that should be done on a regular basis. And the other is health relative or curative health, where one can look at strategies in terms of providing some degree of health support, whether it be just a healthcare worker or a physician who can visit the healthcare people once, maybe once a fortnight or once a month, whatever is practical, and then have a referral system that if someone has a problem, then he can go to the district hospital or to the nearby hospital to get himself checked up or get the necessary tests done. So a mechanism has to be worked out, which can look at a primary level, and then how it can go on to a secondary level if there are problems which need intervention.
And if I may add here that what I think municipalities, and in fact nobody would have expected air pollution to suddenly take this mainstream space in the last decade as it has, or last 5 years or 6 years. And so I believe that there is need, and this conversation, the Swachh Talks today, I would really like to congratulate the mission for having it, because it really spotlights the need for investing more in healthcare access for small and specific kinds of facilities. And already the Finance Commission had rolled out funds for certain cities. Some of those funds are still available, and they were for air pollution mitigation. So I think many of those could be used and so could other sources of funds to actually set up this kind of emerging need. And that's how we progress. We learn from science, we learn from data, and then we use resources to set up new kinds of cells. So I think that is one of the big takeaways, is what kind of setups do which cities require in order to address this new challenge that, whether it's Chandigarh or Telangana or Delhi, we are all facing it.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have amongst us Shri Manoj Joshi, Secretary, Housing and Urban Affairs. I welcome sir and I request you to address the 7th Swachh Talks today, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Guleria and all the people who are connected to us. First of all, let me congratulate all the participants and our team here, Swachh Bharat Mission, to organize this talk on a very relevant topic. We have 4 or 5 types of workers engaged in different part of the entire chain of garbage or waste. One are those permanent health workers engaged with municipalities who do road sweeping. Second are contract workers engaged by municipalities doing road sweeping. Third are mostly SHGs or contract workers engaged on door-to-door collection of garbage. Then there are rag pickers or SHGs who do a waste segregation at a material recovery facility. And then there are people involved in moving of all the waste through the vehicles and other means. Then there are 6 categories. Those health workers, those Safai Mitras who get into the sewer and do a sewage cleaning and all those, the most difficult stuff. Those are the most unregistered, unrecognized, without any link with municipality workers. And each one of them to be taken care of health. One is, it's talk very wide, reveals that we have not been providing gear, adequate gear to all these people, whether the goggles or whether the gloves or boots or masks. We need to do that. It's not just when the air pollution becomes very high, they require masks most of the time. We have not really thought about it. Half the time it may happen that we may provide these things to them and they may still not use it. I keep saying it in construction sites. We keep providing the safety gear to workers. Unless management and contractor and safety staff insist, a lot of people remove them. So we need to provide that as well as insist on their being used. That's first thing. Second, the regular health checkup is something we must do. As a system, we need to take that into account. Third, I think we need to change our SOPs and procedures so that we do things rightly. As Dr. Guleria and Saritaji in the presentation, we said we do a lot of road sweeping. Most of the time, it's not required. We do it as a national practice, the road sweeping, where the primary purpose is to pick up the garbage, which can be picked up otherwise also without sweeping the roads. Road sweeping, the purpose is to remove the dust. By sweeping, you can't remove the dust. So either you employ equipment to remove the dust or don't use it, just pick up the garbage on the road. Similarly, the unhealthy practices which we follow in our MRFs, particularly smaller informal MRFs run by municipalities, smaller municipalities, I think a lot of that is a health hazard. We need to, I think, build proper practices so that the waste segregation is proper as well as the workers are not exposed to these health hazards. I think it's a good timely discussion, probably since the health problems are so much right now in Delhi because of air pollution, so most of us are worried, but even otherwise I think we should do it. I thank everyone to raise very relevant issues in this, and we need to do a follow-up with the municipalities as to make it as a practice as to what we should be doing. The way the medical workers, healthcare workers do in the hospitals or other places, the Safai workers, we need to take care of them. There is an inherent cost of doing this work, which We are probably, by ignoring these things, we are reducing the cost a little, probably by 5% or 2-3%, but the damage is far more. So by spending that 1 or 2% of attention and resources, probably we can gain a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Secretary Mahua, JSSBM, our eminent speakers, Dr. Randeep Guleria ji and Ms. Bharti Chaturvedi ji, all the people who have used this forum for the interaction, all the state SMDs, urban local bodies, NGOs who joined us, and all the sanitation workers. Thank you so very much for having joined the Swachh Talks 7th one. We look forward to have our 8th Swachh Talk soon. Thank you. Good day, everyone.